All right, so hello everybody, and welcome to the first, I believe, the first Western Courier podcast. I don't think a staff has ever done one in the past. There could have been. I don't really know. We are now 365 days away from the election season. 1 year. We're at November 2nd, 2015. We're going to be talking about the Decision 2016 process, the things that we've done over the past few weeks so far, and that kind of thing, and basically leading up to the Decision 2016, which is coming up in the future. So I'm Nicholas Stewart, I'm the editor-in-chief of the Western Courier, sitting here alongside Erika.
And I'm the news editor.
So I guess we'll get the disclaimer out of the way. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast do not reflect those of the Western Courier or Western Illinois University. So the big thing is today, some of the news polls are starting to come out with the 2016 election. And, of course, the internet's really bad in here. Let me remind you, we're at the mock presidential election. That's what you see behind us. They're electing the future president of the United States. In this case, it's Jeb Bush versus Bernie Sanders, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so we got those two. Those are the two things there. And based on the latest polls coming out today, not quite the most realistic situation. Right now, the newest NBC poll has actually Carson ahead of Trump nationwide. So we saw that trend in Iowa, and now it's beginning to build nationwide. So based on the rallies we've been to so far, I haven't even seen Carson yet.
I haven't seen any of Carson's. I haven't seen anything about his rallies.
Yeah, I mean, he's just kind of been, I don't know what he's doing. I don't know if people are kind of realizing that maybe Trump is a little too extreme for them, perhaps.
Maybe they're reading Carson's books. And
That's a possibility. They did at the GOP rally that we're at on Saturday. They were giving away his books for free, so he wasn't there
really?
to sign
I didn't
them.
even see that.
Yeah, next to his giant cardboard cutout, they had books. So.
Should have gotten a book.
But yeah, this is again the NBC poll. So now Carson's up by 6 points. That's 29 for Carson, 23 for Trump, Rubio at 11, Cruz at 10, and Bush at 8. So that's pretty neat. Also, the latest Iowa polls are out as well. So from the I forget what it is. PPP, was it?
Public policy polling.
Yeah, that's what it was. The latest Iowa caucus polls are out. Again, Trump actually has regained the lead in Iowa, at least according to this poll. 22 over Carson, 21. Cruz at 14, Rubio at 10, and Bush at 5. Those are your top people there. And then Clinton still has kind of that commanding stance still in the Iowa as well. 57 compared to Sanders, 25. And my boy O'Malley sitting at 7. So Clinton with a commanding 32-point lead there. So
I mean, O'Malley's higher than like half the Republicans.
that is true. He's got 7%. That puts him. That would put him fourth with the Republicans. So not too bad. So I don't know. So I guess Jefferson-Jackson Dinner. We were both there. We both saw the rallies, kind of the support sections for either side. It was definitely a Hillary-Bernie situation. Would you agree?
Most definitely. Poor O'Malley. So few people.
I think it was a very close call amongst the loudest amongst the two groups. I'm not really sure. What would you say was probably the loudest out of those two?
Well, I mean, I was right next to the Sanders crowd, and that was a little loud, a little rowdy. People banging on the bleachers.
I was kind of like right in the middle. I think I'd still give it to Bernie just because I think the bleachers thing, I think, is kind of what
They were
got
just
them.
stomping and jumping and very excited.
And he went first in the Jefferson-Jackson Dinner, so that probably didn't help his situation at all. So as soon as Sanders talked, half of his crowd just noped out. They were kind of out of that situation, like, no thanks. Clinton's supporter, though, she talked last, and obviously she had a pretty commanding section there throughout most of the thing. So, all right, so I guess we'll kind of go through the coverage that we've had so far this year. We started off our political coverage back on October 19th. It was the Bernie Sanders rally in Fort Madison. Fort Madison? Yeah, Fort Madison, Iowa. That was our first taste of political coverage.
Yeah, I'd never been to a rally before that, so definitely interesting, new experience.
Yeah, it was definitely a little bit more really relaxed.
Yeah.
It was kind of neat. I will say that. We kind of walked right in, kind of no problem, just kind of verified, who we worked for, and then it's like, okay, just here you go.
Check your name off the list. Cool. Stand there.
His rally was probably, you could just tell, it's a very Bernie Sanders rally. He had the inside a school gymnasium, close-knit group. So I think, was there 530 people, I believe?
It was like 537, I want to say. I could be very wrong, but it was, a little over 500.
Okay, so about 500 people there. think about probably about 300, 400 in the actual gymnasium. They had like a listening room in a separate situation as well. So, and then just a few days later, a very different candidate. I don't know for how much we're fighting over the audience behind us, so we'll have to be kind of playing with that a little bit. But then October 23rd, this is actually on a Wednesday, so the 21st, Trump came to Burlington, Iowa. A very different affair.
Very different. You know, the crowd was very different as well. It was very Midwestern.
Yeah, the demographics for the crowds were definitely something really interesting. Bernie Sanders, very mixed.
Oh yeah, like age-wise, race-wise, everything was just very mixed, and Trump was exactly the opposite.
Trump was basically just older white people, pretty much, was his crowd for the entire thing. Representative of Iowa, I don't know. But it was very, very interesting to see the contrast between the two demographics. I think part of it, too, with Sanders, maybe a lot of people just kind of wanted to check him out.
Yeah.
He's kind of not doing so well in the polls. Well, I mean, he's not number 2, but he's fighting ferociously against a very known Hillary Clinton. For good or for bad, a very well-known Hillary Clinton.
And people are really afraid of the word socialism,
Yes.
and he just classifies himself as a democratic socialist.
The number of times I've heard at the different things that we've been at were kind of people discussing like, oh no, he's a socialist at the Republican things. You know, we don't want that. You know, we don't. Who said the quote? Where it's like he went. Because this is during the debate, last week's debate. It's like he went on a honeymoon to the Soviet Union and never came back. I forget who
No,
said that.
that was.
'Cause I know
that
that
was
was at
this
the
weekend.
debate. I thought it was
Somebody
at the
said it this
debate.
weekend too.
Oh, jeez. It might have been Graham.
It might
I
have
think
been.
it was him. I think he was the one that said it.
It might have been. I can't.
But yeah, he is, the Republicans very. Although they did acknowledge the fact that at least he's honest. So he did say, you know, hey, at least you're being honest about the fact that you know he's a socialist and that kind of thing. And then they kind of course, call out Hillary for not being honest with anything.
Of course. It's the easiest thing in the world to do. Just call out Hillary. Why not?
And then immediately following the Trump rally, we had the Jefferson-Jackson Dinner in Des Moines, Iowa. So that was a very, very different affair for pretty much everyone involved in that one.
It's exactly how I imagine politics.
Yes, it was fun.
Most definitely.
Because you, I know, started watching videos before we even went to it. I kind of wanted to go into it not knowing anything.
See, I wanted to be prepared. I wanted to know what I was getting into, how many people were going to be there, and like what it was going to look like.
Was it 6,000?
Yeah, 6,000 people.
And it was a sold-out crowd. So the sold-out crowd inside Hy-Vee Hall in Des Moines, Iowa. Again, they pretty much, it was kind of the formal middle section. They had, you know, very expensive tickets to get like a round table and a meal and all that kind of thing. And then they just had like the grandstand, just kind of all around. $50 entry, $50 entry, jeez, to get into that event. Very cool. I don't know. I wonder how many people would just got in there for free. Just kind of like, come in, support us, like please, like
Yeah.
O'Malley maybe.
Oh, yeah.
Paying some people to get in, perhaps. I
That's a
don't
good
know.
theory.
I don't know what the ethics of that are for that. I don't know if that's allowed or not.
I don't know. I know they either had tickets available or were giving them away at the Hillary rally.
Yeah, that's true. I did hear that. I know they're asking, like, are you guys interested in coming to the Jefferson-Jackson Dinner? Like, get free tickets.
Let's all march together.
Oh, that too. So I guess we'll touch on we went each at the Jefferson-Jackson Dinner, each of them had their own rally. So each of them kind of just were able to kind of gather their forces and everything. Again, very representative of who each candidate
person.
is. We were at the Hillary Clinton one, mainly because that was the one that had the most fanfare. Katy Perry took the stage,
And
performed.
Bill Clinton, you can't forget him.
Of course, well, yeah, I was getting there.
Can't forget Bill.
Katy Perry was there, performed. Let's see, Firework,
Wide Awake.
Wide Awake.
She's saying God bless America too.
That was true. And then there's one more. Roar?
Yeah.
What is that? Is that
Yeah,
what
it's
that
Roar.
song is
That's
called?
what it's called, Roar.
So that was kind of fun. And then, you know, Bill Clinton took the stage. And I remember, I don't think she was scheduled to come on. At least we didn't think.
See, I figured she would for a little bit.
Yeah.
At least I hoped for that, and I was really happy that she did.
Because I remember, like, you know, she kind of took the stage, you know, she's like, all right, goodbye, you know, see you at Des Moines. She left the stage. And it was kind of like an awkward, like, 30 seconds, like, is that it? Like, what do we do now? And then I started putting my camera away. I look up at her, and she's just, like, in the zone, like, Hillary Clinton, I was like, oh, she is here. Like,
Hillary's here.
finally. I'm very happy she did show up. So that was really cool. Her facial expressions, like I probably do a lot of photography, and her facial expression I think are the most like just enthusiastic out of anyone I've ever seen. Yeah, she's just like bulging eyes, just like huge smile on her face. But yeah, obviously very very Hillary Clinton rally.
She's too cute.
You know, celebrities on stage, a lot of people, a lot of fanfare outside. Let's jump to Bernie Sanders. He was across the river. I don't know what river that is. Is that the Des Moines River? It might be.
Don't ask me. I don't know geography.
Across the river then in downtown, Bernie Sanders had a little rally. He had a band play. Now that you know, a famous band, you know, he says he was kind of like, you know,
It was
who
like
needs
local
Katy Perry?
musicians, I think.
it was local musicians. He's like, you know, who needs Katy Perry is kind of what he was saying. And then he led the solidarity march to across the river, then to Hy-Vee Hall.
Yep. It's very activist. It fit him really well.
He kind of, if you don't know, Bernie Sanders definitely has a past, you know, with activist movements, you know, the civil rights movement, all that. Very active in that in the past. So, solidarity march together, very Bernie Sanders.
Very.
And then O'Malley. It was kind of.
I mean, it wasn't necessarily what I expected for O'Malley.
I kind of wish I went.
I didn't know he sang.
Yeah, he's in a band. If you don't know, he's in like a Irish rock band.
Well, I didn't know that much.
Well,
I thought he
know if
just
it's
played
rock,
guitar.
but it's like I know like it was on the Snapchat filter. It was
Oh,
like it was like
yeah.
one of his like tricks or whatever was talking about his being in the band, and I know all like his music when he walks up on stage, like the Boston, like
Yeah.
shipping with the Boston or whatever. But he had a very small section. Hillary, what was it, 2,000? I think it's like somewhere
between
between 2 and
2 and
4,000. The numbers were very widely ranged for that, which I was very kind of confused about.
Yeah.
I think was Time the one that said 2, or were they the one that said 4?
I can't remember. Somebody said 2, somebody said 4. No,
It's
somebody
very
said 1.
conflicting. Yeah.
Somebody said 1,000. Somebody else said 4,000. So we're like, meet in the middle?
And then I contacted their media person after trying to get a number and never got back. So clearly we're not important
We're not
enough.
priority.
Tier. But yeah, again, back to O'Malley. Kind of a small get together. He serenaded his audience, played guitar. There were some
I'm
videos on
so
YouTube.
sad I missed that.
I would have loved to have seen that. I really, after going to this, I kind of have to admit, I do like O'Malley. He's kind of a bro, I gotta say.
He's definitely, I want to meet him. I want to know him.
Yeah. He's kind of like one of those president candidates where it's like, he'd be a really cool uncle.
Yeah,
He would be kind of, fun to be around, but I don't know so much about being president.
He'd be the uncle that at every birthday party would like play Happy Birthday.
And then he had his rally he's probably the closest to Hy-Vee Hall. He's also like right near the entrance to Hy-Vee Hall. And then the Hillary Clinton crew kind of just walked. And
they
like,
didn't
just
watch.
marched
They marched and chanted. And
all the way right through his little section.
poor guy. That's just rubbing. They had a float.
Yeah, the Hillary Clinton, I don't know if she was on the float or what happened there, but I know there was like a big Hillary Clinton float. We saw coming back as we were like walking into like the media entrance for the
I hope she was on the float.
So
That would just make her like a princess.
So yeah, very very indicative of each of their different their running styles.
The signage was definitely interesting.
Yeah, so you can definitely tell, like probably that night before they had like a go team, like all right guys, like let's vandalize this city like crazy, put signs everywhere.
The entire street, the entire few blocks surrounding the area.
Like we came down, I think it's 6th Street, right off 235, and as soon as you come off the interstate, that roadway was lined with cars. All the windows were painted like Hillary Clinton, vote for Hillary Clinton.
Hashtag
like,
Hill yes.
Yeah, hell yeah. That was her thing at her rally, was hell yes, kind of funny. And then Bernie Sanders had an equal amount of signage. I'd say they were pretty comparable.
Yeah.
And then you had a few O'Malley signs every once in a while, kind of in like a
And they
flower
were just
planter.
like so much smaller than the other ones too.
So there definitely was advantage, probably Hillary, just because the cars. I think the cars probably
yeah, the
was
cars.
advantage.
They were extravagant.
Yeah, they were painted very, very heavily.
There were
with
like
that.
paintings of her on the cars.
I loved it though. It was so cool to see.
Definitely.
But moving into, I guess, the Jefferson-Jackson Dinner itself, very interesting because it was one of those keynote things where you had, first of all, the Jefferson-Jackson Dinner, the entry with this thing was very kind of in your face to the Republicans. You had the gay man's choir come out
Yep.
and sing That was hilarious. Like,
Oh,
just
yes.
phenomenal. Like, I mean, that's just like a in your face to the Republicans.
It's like, what up?
And then you had an immigrant actually sang the national anthem.
Yeah.
Because I think the Game Inspire sang "God Bless America," and I believe it was.
Wait, it might be flipped.
It was either way. I forget what it was, but it was very, very cool to see that. And then I guess the talking points for each one, very, very interesting to see. You had kind of, their senators come out. They announced all their Democratic senators, all their kind of main people, and then said, all right, they had the keynote. And it was in reverse alphabetical.
Yeah.
That's how they determined it. So they started out with Bernie Sanders, followed by O'Malley, and then ended up with Hillary Clinton. Probably good for the audience attention
Yeah.
to put the big two powerhouses on either end, O'Malley in the middle.
That worked out very nicely.
So we kind of went with our theme was we've been doing headline for their individual candidate on our rallies. Bernie Sanders was kind of like a very forward together. That's what he kind of said. It's the country uniting together. Then you had O'Malley, actions, not words. That was, which I'll talk about once we start getting into their individual things, but very harping on his executive experience. Then Hillary Clinton.
Deal me in. She's such a powerful speaker.
Yeah, she's definitely brownie points to Hillary Clinton. She knows what she's doing.
Oh, she knows how to give a speech very
Yeah.
well. I was just captivated the entire time.
Although I will say she probably looked the most at the teleprompter. I
Yeah,
think
she did
she
look
didn't
a
want to
lot.
stray too far from her speech, unlike Bernie Sanders.
Who just went on a 6-minute rant before actually getting into his prepared remarks.
So you're given, I think it was 20 to 25, I believe it was 25.
I'm
I
not
could be
sure.
wrong. I think it was 25 minutes to talk. And Bernie kind of just started off 6 minutes without even touching on his keynote yet.
Just
He
calling
ended
out the
up-
Republicans the whole time.
I think he ended up being about 8 minutes over, something like that. You can
Something.
hear the MC for the night was standing there, kind of like tapping her foot, like come on, let's go. O'Malley was right on time.
Of course.
He was within seconds of his time.
Of course he was.
Hillary Clinton, I think, was way over too. I'm
She
pretty sure.
went over, like, big time. She went over.
Like, it's just that's feeding off the crowd, pretty much. I'd say for the most part. Big points for each things. Bernie Sanders, I think he needed to be more attacking. He needed to be stronger in what he had to say.
Yeah, because he's already like I think he's decently strong with all the activism experience, but there was just something, I don't know exactly what it was, but something was lacking just a little bit. He wasn't the most powerful there.
He didn't really have any of those like signature quotes.
Yeah.
Like each candidate, I think, had a phenomenal quote that really kind of dragged everyone's attention. I don't think he really did at any
Yeah.
point. He had his, typical enough is enough, but he says it at everything he does.
It was really similar, besides the 6-minute rant at the beginning, it was really similar to his speech
Yeah.
at his rally.
Very, very, very structured the same way. He kind of harped on minimum wage was a big one for him, raising it to 15.
A living wage, as he calls it.
A living wage, correct. Let's see. He also then touched on the fighting Wall Street and the crimes on Wall Street and everything related to the 2008 crash. And then in one third point, I think I have it written down here. I don't remember what his third one was.
He kind of makes a big deal about being a democratic socialist, which is
Yeah.
different because nobody else is classifying themselves as
He's
that.
pretty proud.
Oh,
Pretty
yes.
proud of it. I think the other thing too is Bernie. He stepped aside a little bit from what he said he was going to do. He kind of said he wasn't going to attack it. It's not something he does. He didn't directly call out anyone, but kind of hinted very heavily.
He let you know what he did. Like, he was against the Defense of Marriage Act, unlike other people. Parentheses, Hillary.
Yeah, it was definitely something that I didn't catch right away, but after reading through everything, it was like, oh, like Defense Against Marriage Act. That was the direct thing that we're talking about.
The
was
Iraq War.
Those two things in particular, very directed at Hillary Clinton.
Because it's very much in the media that Hillary has changed her views.
Yeah.
And Bernie just kind of inadvertently pointed that out without pointing it out.
I don't even know. Those are kind of like definitely his big talking points for that.
Climate change, always climate change for him.
Climate change. How did I forget about climate change?
I don't know.
That's my
Climate's
thing,
your thing,
too.
yeah.
I mean, geez. Definitely very, very calling out, going about adjusting to renewable energy, cleaner energy is something that the Republicans are just completely the opposite of. Although,
Science isn't always real.
yeah, I was Hillary Clinton, stepping to her real quick, she
Oh.
had the quote of the night, by far.
Let me find it. I have it right here. Oh, talking about the Republicans. Of course, none of them are serious about climate change. I love it when they're asked about it. You know what their answer is? I'm not a scientist. Well, why don't they start listening to those who are scientists and understand what we're up against in the world?
Like just a dagger. It was so good. I
It's
really love that so much.
sap.
Okay. So jumping to O'Malley, I will say that my opinion, if O'Malley and Bernie were switched in the polls, I think his speech would have given him a big jump.
Yeah,
His speech was really strong,
It
but
was.
people just don't care.
people don't really know him. They don't.
Because I mean,
He's like in the middle of, even like in the setup here, he's in the middle
Yeah.
of Bernie and Hillary.
I mean, he's definitely committed to staying in, though. He definitely doesn't look like he's gonna be dropping
He's
anytime
not giving
soon.
up, and I think he has the most passionate fan base of the
Yeah.
people who were there. They were, for the amount of people that were there, they were pretty loud.
Yeah, I would say so for sure. They had big signs, like right outside the Jefferson-Jackson Dinner itself. They had like a little powwow. I think they're at the wrong entrance, though. Although
They were at the press entrance.
I think that was intentional, though. It's like, please notice us, maybe.
I
Maybe
could see
that's
that. I
what
could see
they're
that.
going for.
That's a good idea.
So-
If you thought of that, kudos to you.
O'Malley, the second half of his speech was very targeting the NRA.
Very much.
Very, going for gun control, calling out different events in America's history with mass shootings and everything. And he had a really good quote. I think, do you have it on you? A really good quote about talking about the
I know what one you're talking about too.
not selling firearms to psychopaths. I know I have it on.
You have to go to news.
I have it on the photo spread. I feel like the Jeopardy music. All right. Nope, I don't have it on here. Well done. His other good quote, though, the really good quote that he had, was also talking about immigration. And he, again, like most candidates, calling Trump out.
Oh, yes.
He was vicious with
He
Trump.
was.
He had some really good quotes. All of us here tonight agree that we cannot allow Donald Trump or any of the Trump wannabes in this year's Republican field to take over the White House. To that immigrant-bashing, carnival barker Donald Trump, let us stand up together and say the enduring symbol of our nation is not a barbed wire fence, but is the Statue of Liberty.
He very much took a stance on that.
Yeah, like I said, he had good positive quotes,
Oh, yeah.
really strong quotes. And if people were more willing to accept that, I think that would have helped his
I
rally.
mean, the
and
two
his
guys
cause.
behind me were too busy getting drunk at that point.
Oh.
That was
Were those
fun.
Bernie Sanders people, or were those the people in the?
No, they were. I don't know who they were supporting because they didn't have on like any specific shirts, and they didn't have on like anything press or volunteer or anything. They were just like sitting there, and they had the tickets, like the really expensive tickets, and they just kept going in, getting more drinks, and coming out and drinking more. And I'm like, maybe calm down.
Oh, jeez. Let's see. Again, also very, very similar to Bernie Sanders in the Wall Street comments.
Yes.
Very, very similar in pretty much every way. You can
Banks
just kind
are
of
too big.
merge their things, and they're exactly the same.
Oh, there was one of O'Malley's quotes that was almost identical to Bernie's about like, banks are too big. What
We
was
got
it?
if they're too big to jail, or if they're too big, it's like too big to break up, too big to something.
Too big to
like-
fail, then they're too damn big.
Yeah.
Something like
I don't know
that.
if I have it. I think we had it.
I know you put it in there somewhere.
It's probably on page 2, so naturally. But again, he also came out very strong against, as we discussed earlier, his executive experience. Well, all the candidates here tonight share progressive values. Not all of us have a record of actually getting things done. I do. With 15 years of executive experience as mayor and as governor, governor of Maryland, I have learned to be a very effective leader. I have learned how to get things done. I'm clear about my principles, passing a living wage, raising the minimum wage, freezing college tuition for 4 years in a row. Actions, not words. Very
Okay.
strong. So, definitely a very relaxed individual. His voice wasn't, strong. It wasn't like overpowering, but it's very commanding.
Yeah. Like, you listen to him, but, like, at times he was almost a little bit cheesy.
Yeah.
Where, like, he'd say something and just kind of turn and be like, I just said that.
And then I guess jumping to Hillary Clinton, then she rounded out the top 3 candidates. Again, very kind of commanding with her speech.
Very. She's the only candidate who spoke about, like, gender issues and, like, sexism and everything, which is a relatively big issue. I can see why the other candidates don't say too much about it because they're male, but I don't know. I was happy that Hillary said something about it.
And she also came out, Black Lives Matter.
Oh, yeah.
Something that was very like, wow, I honestly didn't expect that.
No, neither did I.
Bernie Sanders, I know he's been a supporter of that, but he hasn't, I don't think, ever said it.
He hasn't said anything about it in his, at least in his rally or this speech.
And interestingly enough, just in Atlanta, she had a rally, Atlanta, Georgia, and she was basically interrupted by a large group of Black Lives Matter people. And it's kind of like you're going after the wrong person right
Like,
now.
she's supportive of you. She says it.
Like on the national stage, she said like, "Hey, like."
She said it to the whole country. She's like, Black Lives Matter.
What else?
She basically called out sexism.
Yes, this is a good quote. Go for it.
I love it. Now, I've been told to stop shouting about ending gun violence. Well, I haven't been shouting, but sometimes when a woman speaks out, some people think it's shouting. But I won't be silenced, and I hope you won't be either. I love that kind of thing.
It was very like kind of like, ugh, like right in the gut for a lot of people.
What up?
And then she kind of ended, together we're going to build America where there are no ceilings for anyone, where no one gets left behind, left out, where a father can tell his daughter, you can be anything you want to be, including President of the United States of America. Again, very gender-oriented.
Referencing the glass ceiling that she broke. Snaps for Hillary.
Yeah, the Benghazi situation. This was, to give you, again, some more background, Jefferson-Jackson Dinner, was that 2 days before?
2 days after.
Or that's what I meant, after. That was on Thursday, was the Benghazi hearing.
Yeah, in front of the Benghazi Select Committee.
Yeah.
They have a special name, even.
So that was one of the many Benghazi
I think there's been like 8, which is 6 more investigations than 9/11, and still, in all 8 of those investigations, they haven't really found anything new than the statement that the State Department already released.
This guy's voice is really loud. I think I'm going to let him show. There we go. Again, very, yeah.
She's supportive of Planned Parenthood, which I thought to be a plus.
Yeah.
I feel like all the Democrats are supportive of Planned
Democrats
Parenthood.
Democrats are very, definitely supportive of not only Planned Parenthood, but I mean just pro-choice as an example. Opposite to the GOP event which you went to on Saturday. Very, very opposite. Something I think we'll touch more on next week in the next podcast about that. So comparing the Jefferson-Jackson Dinner and the GOP party.
The GOP.
Kudos to whoever came up with that.
I'm proud of whoever came up with that. The GOP's Growth and Opportunity Party, the GOP's GOP. Love it.
Right behind us there, again, we're doing the mock presidential election, and the first votes are in for Maine, and that just went to Bernie Sanders. So first electoral vote's going for Bernie Sanders. So not surprising, it's a very Democrat Northeast. So we'll see how that goes. Let's see. I don't know. I think we pretty much hit.
I have a quote from Hillary about Planned Parenthood. She says, I'll tell you, I will do everything I can to protect a woman's right to choose and to defend Planned Parenthood. Republicans say I'm playing the gender card. Well, if talking about equal pay, paid family leave, affordable child care, and women's health is playing the gender card, then deal me in. She did that too. She was like, then deal me in.
She had the hand gestures.
Oh, yes.
Second to none. She was enthusiastic.
She was very animated.
She was ready to go. She wanted to fight, man. Like, she wanted, just like Trump, he wanted to call the election that night of his rally that we went to.
Oh, yeah.
I think
he was leading that day. The next day, not so much.
Yeah, that's really funny. He comes up on stage, and he's just, he starts off his entire speech for, like, the first 10 minutes.
Oh, it was more than 10 minutes. I was timing it. It was a lot more than 10 minutes.
Every poll, like, I'm leading this one by this much, leading this one by this much, leading this one. He went on for every major poll in the United States, every state in the United States, basically. And then the next day, Carson takes the lead in Iowa.
Oh.
And then today, we're now hearing Carson takes the lead in the United States in the Republican Party. A bit
Trump's
narrowly,
ego.
but
Feel bad for his ego. Not really.
he's a character. I was really disappointed that he wasn't at the GOP just because I really wanted to hear him talk. He would have definitely gone along with the Democratic House of Horrors. He would have let he
a
would've
tour
loved
through
that.
it.
Which again we'll talk more on in the next one. So, all right, I think that's pretty much all we had for this one anyway.
I think so.
So thanks for tuning in for the first Western Courier podcast for Decision 16 coverage. Again, the polls open for the main election in 365 days. The Iowa caucus, 93.
It's February 3rd, I think, is the day. If you want to do
So
the
we're getting
math.
there. Well, it's 100 days the Jefferson-Jackson Dinner. So
But how many days ago was that?
So 91 days, 92 days, something like that. Anyway, we're getting there down to the Iowa caucus. So for all of us at the Western Courier, thanks for tuning in or listening to the podcast, and we'll see you again next time.